You know, I've had 3 kids that have gone through schools, public and private, in this state. Because I love history, I do read the portions of their history book, and sometimes over their protest, I go through their history lessons with them. I have to say, I haven't seen anything particularly pernicious or out of line in the history. I just wish they taught more history. I wish they taught more Texas history. I know that was a great requirement when I was in 8th grade, but a lot of people are not familiar with some of the basics of history. I saw a survey, for example, about the origins and sources of the Korean War and World War I, where American high school students didn't understand the things that brought around those conflicts, for which so many Americans made a great sacrifice. So, you know, I hear people talking from time to time about this spin and that spin on history. The fact is, we're a free country, and what we want to encourage is we want to encourage young minds not just to read what's in the book, but to read history throughout their lives. We want more citizens that are familiar with the history of the greatest country in the history of the world. We need, the facts speak for itself about the position of America in the world. We were the beacon of light, promoting the ideas of limited government, free markets, capitalism at a time when some of those concepts were alien to most, you know, of the world. We are the nation that taught other nations that government should be the servant and not the master. And of course, it's a constant battle to keep those in government from, you know, to remember that concept on which our country is founded. So what I would propose, rather than having politicians of any stripe, including me as governor, you know, writing history books, is to make history a part of core curriculum and to encourage students to know their history. And of course, this should be, I find some naturalized citizens, because they're required to learn some American history, I find some of them know some American history better than those who've inherited their citizenship. And I find that to be something that is very mistaken. My dad was a combat veteran, and he taught history in the public schools for so many years. When I was young, he imparted to me a love of the history of the greatest nation in the history of the world. We need more parents to do that.
I'm a big believer that America's a very special place. I grew up in a small community. I never had the opportunity to leave Texas but once on any extended period of time, and that was in 1964 to go to the National Jamboree. Went to Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City for a World's Fair. And that was my first exposure outside of the state of Texas, that there was actually a bigger world, if you will, out there. And until I was 22, 23 years old, I had no real conception about the world. I kind of went from 10 miles an hour to 120 miles an hour because I became a pilot in the United States Air Force, and I lived all over the world. And I got to see how other people live. I saw other types of government, theocracies, monarchies, dictatorships, as I lived in Europe and South America and the Middle East, and I saw a lot of different countries, their governments, and how their people got treated. And when I was about 26 years old, it dawned on me what an incredible country America is, and the freedoms that we have that other people literally would give their lives for if they could have. And I might add, inside of this great country, there's a really special place called Texas, and we have now become the epicenter of freedom, I think, in the world, certainly in America, and we want to keep it that way. Are we exceptional? Darn tootin' we're exceptional. But do we live in a global world? You bet. I just want the opportunity to be free to compete with them. You know, whether it's trade agreements that allow us to be free to compete, free to get out there in the global marketplace. Hey, I want to sell Texas cotton to any place in the world, but I don't want tariffs put on it to put us in, you know, uncompetitive positions. So, yes, we live in a global marketplace, but, you know, I'm not a global citizen. I'm a Texan and an American, and I'm going to take care of my country and my state. I don't have a problem with competing in the global marketplace, but please don't try to tell me that America's not an exceptional country. And then inside of this exceptional country, there is a very, very special place called Texas. And you also asked me about my position on charter schools and school choice and vouchers. I'm for all three of them, because whether you're competing in a global marketplace or whether you're competing against state to state out there, I believe in competition. And school choice, charter schools, all of those, it's all about competition. I think the public schools, my kids went to public schools, I'm a product of public schools. Our public schools are where 95% of our kids are going to be educated, but they don't automatically deserve to get every kid. They ought to compete for them. They ought to compete for them whether you want to send your child to a private school, parochial school, public school, or a charter school. That'll be your choice, not government mandating where your children go.